Scene 1.2 Eulogy. Ensemble is in the parallel lines formation. Heads bowed down. Each actor steps out of formation when they speak, faces the audience as they say their lines. The rest of the ensemble doesn't move.
He was so young, but so helpful. He would always offer to help carry my things if we meet in the lift.
We always play hide and seek and catching together. I always catch him.
Aiyo, so poor thing, so young already. Life is so fragile, so scary.
Why the mother never take care of him? Why never take him to see doctor?
What if it happens to my kids?
Asthma only?
He's my lucky star. Good things always happen when he's around. The day he was born, my mother's cancer, no more remission. Then my boss at the cleaning company finally gave me my pay after 3 months. He's our lucky star. But he's not so lucky.
Scene 3 Smoking with senior neighbor. The set is in a corridor. Lights are dim except for Kabir. Kabir steps out of his flat looking distressed. He takes out a cigarette pack and looks around. He lights the cigarette and sighs. Madam Lee steps out of her flat to water her plants and sees the child in distress.
Is he already still want to smoke?
The hair is not enough lah.
You okay or not?
Yeah, why?
People usually smoke alone when they got problem.
Well, I don't have.
Then I join you if you got no problem.
Okay.
Madam Lee takes a cigarette from Kabir. She lights it up and she smokes.
In a long time.
How long has it been?
Maybe 20 years? Okay, I smoked with you already. Now you tell me what you're thinking.
I'm just worried for my family, my studies, and just scared of getting sick like Ayah. Mama is scared that I'll get sick like him. She don't want me to do GrabFood anymore.
Just protective over you. She don't want to lose you.
Hey, yeah, sometimes she too overprotective. She got slapped with doctor before.
Wow, your mother so fierce.
Yeah, very. But it's the doctor's fault lah. I was still quite young and suddenly I had some rashes. Doctor said I'll go away and told me I can still go to school. Then suddenly I got blisters all over my body. We quickly went to the doctor and doctor said I got chicken pox. Wow, Mama angry more and slapped the doctor's face lah. The worst part was that my friend also got chicken pox from me. I felt so bad. If only they knew it was from me.
Wow, sway.
Yeah.
What's your mom?
I don't know lah. She's okay, I think. She don't really want to talk to me about her sickness.
Maybe she doesn't want you to worry. So young, you shouldn't have to worry about all these things. Mothers just want what's best for their children. You always hear this, right?
Ayah told me to protect the family before he stress. I just want to protect my family. Make sure Mama don't get worse. Make sure Adik get to go to school. And make sure they are safe. I have no choice. I have to work crazy, for them. Auntie, I know you think being young is good, right? But you think that means being carefree. You should be happy that you're living alone, No one disturbs you. You can just chill and do your own thing.
I know it seems like life is really tough right now, but it will get better.
Madam Lee suddenly remembered that she just received some food ration.
Oh, wait, I got something.
Madam Lee went in and took a bag of food ration and passes it to Kabir.
Maggie, Milo, Sardine. Auntie, what's this? This is too much already. Never mind. You keep this here.
Yeah, this one from the activity center downstairs. I have more than enough. You take, okay? You take this and take care of your family.
Thank you. And thank you for talking to me. Hey, I think I need to go inside already. We meet again, okay? Accompany me to smoke.
Of course, sure. Kabir, if you need anything, you ask me, okay?
Scene 7. Mother to mother conversation. Zaida is getting ready for work. She looks pale and tired, but she has to go to work as there is no one who can take her shift. And she has been warned by her boss that she cannot take any more last minute MC. She has been taking last minute MC because of her son, who has respiratory issues. Umi, Kabir's mother, is delivering some soup to Zaida.
Hello, Zaida. Sorry, I disturb you.
Hello, Umi. It's okay. Come in. I'm just getting ready for work.
Just now, I told Kabir to send over this soup earlier. Then this boy, he forget and then he went back to work again. Aiyo.
Kenapa susah-susah, Umi? I can just buy food from the food court downstairs lah. Hey, Nadia, Nadim, Umi is here.
Nadia and Nadim comes out to salam Umi.
Where is Kakak?
Kakak.
Hey, Akak is busy and studying. So after exams, I asked her to bring both of you to the playground. Then we get ice cream, okay?
Ice cream.
Hey, no, playground can, but not ice cream ah. Nanti batuk-batuk diorang.
Aiya, once in a while je. They are still children lah.
Ibu, can Nadim and I play outside the corridor there? Boring play at home, so hot some more. Just at the corridor there, please.
Zaida checks the PSI.
Okay, KSI like getting better, but just outside only not playground, okay? And you must wear the mask at all times, can? No running, just walking. And no shouting, only talking. You understand?
Yes, Ibu.
Zaida sees her children out and closes the gate. She walks back to Umi and suddenly she falls to the nearest chair. She starts massaging her head.
Zaida, you okay tak?
Suddenly kena migraine lah.
Aiyo, this haze make everyone sick. First Kabir coughing, then Adik flu, and now you. Come, I massage your head for a while.
But I need to go to work.
Yeah, for a while only.
Zaida sits in front of Umi obligingly and lets her massage her head. She starts to show that she's enjoying the massage.
Wow, so long I never get a massage from you.
You never ask?
I don't want to trouble you, especially after your operation.
I am still strong, Zaida. I can massage you anytime, as long as you prepare a cup of tea for me.
You're always so kind lah, Umi.
You shouldn't go to work. You tell your boss you are sick.
Boleh, Umi. I cannot last minute take MC. My work friends already complained about me when I last minute take MC or urgent leave because of Nadim. My boss forced them to take my shift, you know. How can? They also have their family and their own life, right? I cannot waste their time just because I sick lah.
Hey, why your boss so horrible one, ah?
Yeah, you ask me, I also don't know. Last week, I tell you, I fainted at work, Then my boss told me if I want to go home and still get paid, I must produce MC. Wow, or else he won't pay me for the 5 hours that I had worked that day. Then what to do? So I just eat Panadol lah, continue working.
Zaida slowly moves away from Umi and starts finding Panadol for her migraine.
Hey, Zaida, not good, always eat Panadol.
Yeah, I have no choice lah, Umi. I cannot afford to be sick, no. I cannot afford to lose my job. Nadim's inhaler not very cheap also. So Panadol lah, my best friend for now.
Zaida, listen. If you suddenly get sick like my husband, then who is going to take care of Nadim? Nadia? I tell you, don't rely so much on all these Western medication. It only works for a while, then in the end, still never work. You look at my husband. There's here, there's there, eat this medicine, eat that medicine, do that treatment. In the end, still mati juga. If only I took care of him. Maybe he would die a painless death.
Umi, mesti Reda. Itu kan tujuan Tuhan.
Maybe God's plans for me is to take care of you. Let Umi make ginger juice or take kunyit for Nadim's asthma. Then don't need to use inhaler, so expensive.
Cannot, Umi. The inhaler is important for emergency. Anyway, I really need to get to.
Nadim!
Nadia screams Nadim's name. Umi and Zaida quickly run off stage to see what has happened. Scene 8. Guilt. Zaida and Nadia are at home. They are sitting on a couch watching TV. They are staring blankly at the audience. It's been a week since Nadim's death. The PSI has dropped to 90, a healthy range, as of 3 p.m. Health Ministry has announced that it is safe to resume outdoor activities. Persons with chronic heart or lung disease should adopt preventive measures when being outdoors.
Ibu, TV say healthy, no more haze. No more haze. Nadim will come back, right?
Zaida stares at Nadia, hugs her, and sobs quietly.
Ibu, what happened? Why you cry?
Zaida does not react, continues sobbing quietly while hugging Nadia.
Ibu, sorry. Sorry I make you cry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sayang. I'm sorry. It's Ibu's fault. Nadim did not have his spray that day.
Ibu, don't cry. You said when you get money, you can buy spray.
It's all my fault. It's Ibu's fault. It's all my fault. I'm a useless mother.
Silence. Only Zaida's quiet sobs are audible.
Ibu, I know. We go playground. Nadim's favorite place. You will be happy.
Zaida looks at Nadia. She wipes her tears, braces herself, and nods repeatedly.
Okay, we go.
They stand up and walk to downstage left.
Nadia, come here. Wear your mask.
Zaida helps Nadia put the mask on that Madam Lee gave her. They hold hands and exit. Epilogue. Healing at the playground. Music plays. All characters appear on stage and go back to the parallel line formation at the start. They slowly walk towards Nadia and Zaida, who is in the middle of the stage, with their heads bowed down.
There is a sacredness in the sadness.
All characters start making eye contact with each other and acknowledging and appreciating each other's presence non-verbally.
They are not the mark of weakness.
All characters create a community image that is healing at the playground for Nadim.
They are the messengers of unspeakable love.
And my name is Nish. I play the role of narrator.
I'm Divya and I play the role of Zaida.
Hi, my name is Dee and I play the role of Kabir.
I'm Elsie and I play the role of Madam B.
I'm Sherry and I play the role of Nadia.
I'm Sean and I play the role of Nadim.
I'm Inwei and I play the role of Umi.
Right. Hi everyone. Welcome to a script read of Something Senior. I hope everyone enjoyed the little show we had earlier today. So without further ado, maybe we can start things off by talking about why we started this panel discussion in the first place. I think for one, it's a collaboration between the community theatre, the Necessary Stage, and Yishun Health, and we really wanted to see how poverty and health really played with one another. And I think that's not all. This is really a coming together to sort of devise and produce a play, even though we couldn't do it live for all of you. And even though I wasn't in TCT for long, I definitely experienced a lot of memories and bonds here. And I think given that it's TCT's 5th anniversary, I hope you all will enjoy this script read here today. And yeah, so here we are gathered here today to talk about friendship. Yeah. And so without further ado, let's get on to our introductions to our panelists. Maybe we can start with Elvin.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Elvin. I'm the founder and artistic director of The Necessary Stage. It's a theatre company that's about 33 years old by this year. And we've always done plays that are socially engaged, and we're a company that's tried to operate in a collaborative manner. And we used to have a youth branch, and then we evolved it into a community branch, and then had a Theatre for Seniors branch. Yeah, and the Theatre for Seniors started because my parents used to go for this trip to the otak factory kind of thing by the People's Association, and I feel that I wanted to connect my passion for theatre to my parents and the seniors, and I felt that the love for theatre can actually help with seniors, and not just a one-day trip, out or to the otak factory, but I feel like if you're doing theatre, you might have something that's more long-term, and with the long-term kind of goal that the seniors can bond better, and they will have friendship in that sense, and they go out of the way to help each other get their costumes, get their props, and I know that the things that the cohesion, the community bonding, or the social glue that data actually intrinsically encourages. Yeah, I feel that would benefit the seniors community. So that's where I started the Data for Seniors, and they went through kind of 3 years of studying, and then they continued on, and the friendships grew, and we kind of know each other better, so that we can be even honest and frank with each other without getting our feelings hurt. Yeah, so the Data for Seniors has existed over 10 years, but here's a photo that celebrates the friendship of 10 years with the seniors. Yeah, so it's a very warm group. Yeah, sometimes there are conflicts lah, and that's makes it keeps it real, but somehow over food and data, the seniors tend to resolve their conflicts. Yeah, and yeah, that's a one way where they get materials also that they will use to create their dramas. Yeah, so that's data, friendship, and the seniors, where I'm coming from. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Alvin, for your sharing on the Theatre for Seniors. So maybe you can pass the time on to Shania.
Hi, I'm Shania. I've been in TCT for about 4 years now. I started when I was 17. I'm 21 now, so that's about 4 years. So to me, friendship is essentially like a family you can kind of choose. It's a support system, and it like plays out to be the backbone of your life sometimes. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about a collaboration that happened in 2018 when Izati, which is she's from Beyond, and I'm from Temasek Poly. So the two collaborated to do a show. So here's the photo. Yeah, so these are students of Teatro, which is TP's theatre CCA, and also students, youths from Beyond coming together. This is one of the rehearsals. So essentially the game was we all stand in a circle, like behind each other, and we all try to sit on each other's lap until it's stable and we can just kind of rest on each other's lap. So aside from physics, trust is also a huge thing in the game, where we have to make sure that we can trust the person behind us so we can sit down. Also effort, which is also another value that's quite important in a healthy friendship, at least for me personally. So yeah, I thought that picture kind of encapsulates all the values of friendship pretty nicely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shania, for sharing about trust and theatre. So next up we have Sherry.
Hi, I'm Sherry. I joined community theatre in 2015, so about 5 years now. Well, friendship, if we can get to the photo, this is a photo taken during the end of one of our rehearsals in this collaboration between TCT and Theatre for Seniors. And I thought this photo was nice in capturing what I think friendship is. Firstly, I think friendship is having that support, having people around you to be able to support you. Sitting in a circle as we're doing reflections here at the end of the session. The quiet, the silence here, and the presence of everyone it creates that support system. To listen also, I think friendship is about listening. Similarly, like in the photo, before, after that photo was taken, we do share about what we think about that day, or what we learned, what our feelings, how we felt about the rehearsal. And also to have conversations. Friendship is about having conversations, and through conversations, understanding happen, and to have fun. I think if we could get back to the photo, I'm not sure if we could get back, but at the left-hand side of the photo, there's two of them, if you could see at the left-hand side photo, I mean, they're probably bantering, laughing at something. Yeah, I mean, having fun. Yeah, and my reaction to them. Yeah, so yeah, to support, to listen, to have conversations, and to have fun, essentially, what friendship means to me.
Right, thank you, Sherry. I also really love like those little writing exercises that we did. So last but not least, we have Yvonne.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Yvonne and I work in Yishun Health. So Yishun Health is a healthcare group that we're located up in the north of Singapore. We run Khoo Teck Puat Hospital, Yishun Community Hospital, and a few other notable community programs like Wellness Kampong, Shareport, and whatnot. So the picture that I've picked for you today sort of represents my inclusion among all the arts practitioner. And so for me, this picture is really talks a lot about unexpected friendship. So you have a older person teaching a younger person how to do BP measurement. You have a typical auntie who someone would always assume as the patient, someone who needs to be taught, actually turning the tables around teaching someone that's younger. And in this case, it's a town council cleaner that came in for a little bit of health resources at one of our centers. So I think for me, health, reflecting it upon my role in Yishun Health, is also health. The friendships we form does play a big part in our well-being and our physical health. That's why I use that picture to sort of represent what we're here to talk about today. Yeah. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Right, so now that we have known a bit about our speakers, do feel free to put some of your questions in the FB Live or YouTube channel, and we'll be sure to answer them later. So before we even get to our discussion, we do have another sort of surprise for you, which is we'll be playing a few clips throughout this session. There are really interviews with a few actors that we have here in TCT. So without further ado, we'll start off with Divya.
I just really hope that this show resonates with people now, especially in a pandemic, because the focus of this show is actually like a natural, I guess you would call it like a hazardous environmental thing happening, and how people in communities are coping and getting along with that. And I hope that just like our previous shows, this show actually touches your heart and you can relate to it. Very proud to present to you this show to Zoom.
Right, so I hope you enjoyed that. So maybe you can start things off by talking about how this all came together and how really it's situated itself with your work. So would anyone like to begin? If not, maybe we can start with Shania or Sherry.
Sorry, Samara, can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, I guess just sharing about how this Something in the Air came about and maybe your experiences with it.
Okay, yeah, I can go first, I guess. Yeah. How it came about, I think one day Izaki came and tell us, hey, Theatre for Seniors from Necessary Stage, is interested to collaborate with us, and we're like, wow, what would that be like? I mean, initially, at the very beginning, before we even met the members from Theatre for Seniors, we had no idea, we had no clue how it would be like. Us, a group mostly consists of youths, and their group, for seniors. We were like, how would it work out? So it was very interesting and exciting in a sense that we had no idea how it would play out. An intergenerational project, while we were excited, we also were a little scared, I guess, we're not really sure how to anticipate certain challenges. When the sessions happened, I remember the first session was an orientation, so the Theatre for Seniors members came down, and then with our TCT members, and we played games and all that. And it went really well. Like everyone was like really open. Through playing games, and I'm really open to chat, to play together, and that was like, I think we realized like, wow, okay, this could go well, yeah. And I think it was very meaningful when we see everyone being very open to listening to one another, to having conversations, to learn from one another. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for like sharing your experience with this, Sherry. So Shania, would you just like to talk a bit more about maybe the devising process, or how it transitioned like from in-person sessions to like Zoom sessions?
Sure. I think with the devising, obviously in person was a lot better. I mean, it wasn't better; it was easier because we could mediate this space better. We could feel the space better. We could be able to open up and be vulnerable with each other since it's face to face, and it felt more intimate and all those things. So the devising in the beginning was a bit difficult. Me and Sherry had a little bit of trouble with that because we were unsure like how to hold the space with such different like age groups. There were like seniors and then the youth, and we didn't know like how to go about that. So it was difficult in that sense. But Izati helped us a lot. So usually in the community theatre, what we do is that we have journals for every show, and that's an outlet, and they're also an outlet for reflection for our rehearsal spaces, right? Yeah, and from that journals is it's usually what inspires the storyline. So once it took things online, we couldn't do the journals anymore. It's a bit different, but thankfully, by the time it was online, we had the skeleton of our script ready. We actually already had our script. So all we had to do was find ways to hold rehearsals and find ways to make sure that when we move the show from stage to Zoom, for example, like the script reading, that we still give the script some justice, because it was inspired by a lot of true stories, Yeah, but I think things worked out at the end of the day because our actors and also the volunteers held the same passion they had from the start to the end. So the only difference would be technicalities. On stage there'll be blockings and grander costumes and sets to amplify the script, but in this sense I think we had to focus more on our facial expressions and truly feeling the script. Yeah, so it was more internal and more intimate in that sense, which I think still did the script justice. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what really came up for me was this idea of like stories and community, and also maybe a bit of like behind the scenes for the script. So maybe now we can like slowly transition towards the play itself. So we just received a question from Hao Boon, and he asks, I see a big focus on the playground. What role does the playground play for the community or family? So would anyone like to take this on? I know it's a bit like, yeah.
I can start first. Yeah. So I mean, in the extract that of the script read, extract of the play that was featured in the script read, yeah, there was that focus on the playground. But I also want to add on like other parts of the script. We had like a place like the corridor, for example, where they smoke. That was also in the script read. These are common spaces, and when we were kind of putting the different stories together, writing the script, right? We saw the importance of common spaces within the rental flat communities. Corridor was one. So like Nadia wanted to go to the corridor to play, right? And then there was the smoking, Madam Lee and Kabir. And so playground was just one of the other common spaces that that allow people to come together to talk, to share, to play, and yeah, so common spaces was something that that we thought about, and these were from stories, true stories from our youth, where a lot of things happen in these common spaces, like conversations, like fights, conversations, like funny things, sad things, things that happen between neighbors in these common spaces. So we thought it was important to actually feature some of these common spaces and what it means and its significance in our script.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sherry. Yeah, I guess when we are talking about common spaces, I think for me, what also comes up is like, our health centers as well. Every neighborhood has this like general doctor that you can go to. So I'm just wondering, like, Yvonne, do you have anything to share about that? And from the play, how did health really come in? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when we think about common spaces that Sharon was talking about, these are also health producing spaces. So the more parks you have, the more smoking points you have, the more bumping space you have within the community, it is really a chance and a meeting point for people to come together that is not purposely created. It allows that ebb and flow of, hey, how are you, Shania? Haven't seen you. Are you waiting for your son? Or are you bringing your dog out for a walk? Hey, Elvin, haven't seen you around this corner. Hey, you quit smoking, is it? Yeah, kind of. These are where a lot of this common banter with our neighbors, and these are also spaces where you get to know each other. So in my time, that's where all you go and pick up, like boys and girls would go there and meet up and sort of hang out. Yeah. But back to the point on health, for Yishun Health, we were very lucky to have met Beyond Social Services and gotten introduced to their work quite early on in 2018. We were lucky enough also to join the TCT for some of their plays. And we were really quite impressed, not just with the talents, with the production quality, but also how the team brought out a lot of very tricky everyday issues. There was that added nuance that they added, that they brought along, because it was really just a group of young people at the point of time really talking about every other issue. So we had a platform which we always create for all our community partners at the start of the year. So we thought using that platform to bring to get people to rethink about health. That's where we approached TCT. They brought along the necessary stage. So I recall a very exciting meeting that I had with Shania and Elvin. Sherry couldn't join us that time. And we were just in the office and we were just talking about health, our own health experience. And we were also, Shania was asking us, what are the issues that you want us to talk about? And I'm like, actually, the issues that we want to talk about are all the issues that we face. Because especially with the pandemic that we have encountered, right? The realization is health affects all of us, but it does affect all of us differently. It doesn't affect us equally as well. And that was the point that we wanted to bring out. So the character, I think Kasim brought out a very interesting point. He said that we are not a mark of weakness. Again, that was a point of reminder that we didn't write that. We had no contribution. That was really the script writers. But it was important because we wanted the whole community to reflect those who are not able to access health. It's not because of from a point of weakness. There was something more than that. There was more determinants that brought people to that point.
Yeah, they are not a mark of weakness. I think that line will really sort of stick with me now. Yeah, so since we are also on the note on collaborations with the Necessary Stage, Yishun Health, maybe Elvin, you would like to share about how this collaboration also came about. I know you shared a bit about Theatre for Seniors, so what was your experience with that?
Well, after 10 years, the Theatre for Seniors have been putting up plays touching on their own world. And I was telling them, trying to persuade them that they should get out of their own daily lives and look at other communities and interact with them. And they were unsure at first what it would bring, but they were curious as well. And what was interesting was that we started talking about what communities they volunteer with. And so when we started talking about that, then it wasn't so unusual. It wasn't so difficult. So it's just combining communities that they volunteer with their own love, which is theatre. So instead of just putting up theatre that concerns their own lives and their own problems, they would then look at problems from other communities or realities, and that and where would they position themselves with regards to other communities. And I think it would be rich for seniors to actually at that age to also expose themselves and continue learning about other people instead of retiring from life and going introspective to just their own, mixing with only their own people. And what was good was they embraced the idea. And so there were 3 different groups, and one group was connected to Beyond Social Services. Yeah. And this kind of grew very warmly, as you can see some of the you saw the photos that Sherry shared, and they started interacting with the youth there, and started improvising. So it's like 2 separate playgrounds, right? And then made into one playground. Yeah. And there's something special about theater is that you will be able to play, and people who have a common love for theater uh, are similar lah, because they seem to know that it will work on trust, right? So they seem to know also without too many exchange of words, that you have to get to know each other and to take on roles and to role play and to not take not it's very interesting because you have to pour in personal things into it, but at the same time you are also trying not to take things personally, right? Because you have to take up roles, and yet you want to be truthful to that role. So there are many complexities actually that happens in the rehearsal room, but as long as there's mutual respect, uh, all these complexities just somehow fall into place. And there was mutual respect from the start, from the first rehearsal. There was care and concern for each other as well. Of course, there was sometimes misreading and misunderstanding, a bit of insensitivities, because they don't know each other's, they don't know what's the right way to behave or the sensibilities to adopt. But that is the area of growth, right? If we are not so sensitive to the point where any hurt shuts us up, we can forgive each other and we can be empathetic as well as compassionate, which is all the values of friendship. Then we begin to actually open up to each other and know what might upset another person, and learn from that. As long as we are willing to learn from it, it's not like as if you are older and you're veteran, you have a kind of a senior pride or arrogance. As long as you don't come from that kind of background or hold that kind of value, uh, it would be a new playground to play in as well as grow from. Yeah. And I thought that this collaboration and this project, as you can see from the read itself just now, that there was a lot of learning and cross sharing lah, in order for this to come about. And I hope this will have a future, for the communities involved. Oh no, we are losing Sam. Sam, are you still there?
He's back.
He's back. Like a
Oh, no,
matrix,
sorry.
you disappearing.
Right, sorry. Yeah, I think it was the Wi-Fi. um, Right. So I think now that Alvin shared about like this idea of maybe vulnerability and honesty and also mutual learning, we can maybe move on to someone else who has been acting like throughout from the in-person sessions to now the Zoom session, and that's Elsie. So maybe we can begin with her video.
A nice surprise. It was a very enriching experience. You know, seniors, those of us who went, we are all like 60 and above as a group, and then we joined TCT, and then we had these young ones. I learned a lot from them. I realized that in their young age, they are incredibly mature and resilient, and that surprised me. So you know, instead of the seniors being the wise ones, actually I found the young ones were the wise ones, and it was a very enriching experience. Like the people I improv with, I think what moved me the most was the degree of honesty in our improvisations and in our discussions. The young ones were very comfortable talking about their lives and very personal things, and that made the whole process so much more meaningful. I think in other groups we kind of keep a part of ourselves to ourselves because it makes us very vulnerable. I think the TCT group are the most willing to be vulnerable that I have worked with. The community theatre has managed to create this space where everybody felt safe and everybody understood why we would go deep and go personal. And it's very clear that the company has created that space.
Right. So I hope you all enjoyed like Elsie's video. I think you also answered one of our questions from the comment section from Rangayaki. Yeah, which is how did seniors find interacting with the youth? Would they do that in their everyday lives, or has it created a new awareness? Do the youth have new realizations as well? And hopefully, Alvin sharing did answer some of that. And so maybe from this, we can also see like how collaborations has maybe gave grounds for mutual understanding on social issues, but also ourselves. So maybe like a starter question could be, why do you think it is then important to build these friendships in your own capacity, work and life? How have the different dynamics of friendship appeared in your work? And so maybe you can start with Sherry. So from your experiences with interacting with the community, have you learned anything throughout it? You're a teacher as well, right? So when you interact with students, has it changed through the years and all that?
Okay, yeah. When I first started, or 5 years ago, when I first joined community theatre, I was young and wanting to learn, and I mean, in hindsight now, as I reflect, I came from the position as a privileged outsider looking into a new world, and wanting to help, wanting to help the community that I am growing to know, and the way I was approaching it was informed by experiences of school volunteering. As a student, in Singapore, you're made to do like compulsory volunteering, which are most of the time one-off, and no connections are made. You just kind of clock up the hours, and so 5 years ago, I feel like I am, in hindsight now as I reflect, I came from a position as if like I'm a savior, wanting to help or to change things, which is problematic. And over the years, as I form friendships with people, form relationships with people as young as like primary school, 10, 11 years old, as I form friendships over the years, and now in hindsight, as I reflect my growth, I learned how problematic what it is, the way that I approached wanting to help at the very start when I first joined community theatre, and with this growth, and now as a teacher also, I do share what I learned, what I shared with you guys, and the stories, of course, anonymous, they're anonymous, in the classroom, because like I said, right, how I approached volunteering was informed by the very limited experience I had in school, and very problematic ways where you just go one off and that's it. And my students are also doing the same things even years after my time. And so yeah, I do bring in stories and my experiences I do share in the classroom because my students may never have a chance or the opportunity to learn in this time and space right now until maybe they grow up. So yeah, I do try when I can to have these conversations with my students in the classroom.
Yeah, I really love this idea of like bringing things into your own circles, and I think that's something that Naya has also experienced with Teatro, right? Like, so maybe you could share a bit more about that, because I think it's something that is very much related to like opening someone's eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Sherry, I also had a similar mindset where when I came in, I had the savior mindset. I was like, I'm going to help as many people, but it's detrimental. It's not a very healthy mindset to have. It's about understanding a person and not looking at them as like, oh yeah, I'm going to help you kind of thing. But when I first joined the community theatre, it definitely helped boosted my passion for theatre even more. And I realized that because I was so young, I was 17, my understanding of the theatre industry was just mostly like for entertainment purposes solely. So when I joined the community theatre, the reason why I boosted my passion so far and so fast was because I realized that it was impacting lives, it was impacting mindsets, it was helping making a change, whether it be so minute or like drastic, So I wanted people who shared the love for theatre to experience the same thing. I want them to understand that it wasn't just about the nice sets, nice costumes, and being on stage and all that. I wanted them to experience and see that, yeah, it is a cathartic outlet for a lot of people, and it also can bring up very difficult topics to talk about wrapped up in such a nice show, So I initiated a collaboration between Temasek Poly's Theatre CCA. At that point, I was the training head. So me and Izzati came up with that, and for the first half of the rehearsals, we went to Red Hill. So a lot of my Teatro students had to travel quite far to go to rehearsals, but they were more than willing to do so because it was a new experience. It was the first time Teatro was experiencing a collaboration with an outside or an external organization. So it was interesting. It was a different space and all those things. You get to meet different people. And because we were all from around similar age groups, it was a lot easier to kind of glue together. On top of that, like as mentioned by Elsie and also many others, that the community theatre is often a safe space. And in that safe space, inherently, we become vulnerable. And when we are not forced, but when we are put in a situation or a space that we have to be vulnerable, your bond with each other grows a lot faster, and you get to go and you get closer a lot faster. So that was what my students from Teatro and also the youth from community theatre were experiencing, that we were just bonding about like struggles that we all face. Despite the background or whatsoever, we all could talk with no judgment. Empathy was a huge I suppose value that was put upon, and yeah, everyone was kind of kind and understanding about things. So when we moved to a different space, the intimacy and the vulnerability that we had formed with each other didn't change at all. So then that also made me feel that like the space, it matters for comfort, it matters for external things, but what really matters is the bonds that you have. So I didn't expect them to go so closely at such a fast rate, but as I mentioned, because the community theatre was so used to being vulnerable, it made students from Teatro also feel comfortable to open up about their struggles. Yeah, so that was a beautiful experience, I felt. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess vulnerability can sort of seem quite infectious. Yeah, I really like how friendships are sort of sustained not through like very grandiose sort of like experiences, but really the little struggles and little moments that we share with one another. And I think, you know, when it comes to bond forming, I think I also want to bring this to Alvin as well. From what I know, he has collaborations with, say, LGBTQ community or TWC too. So maybe you could share a bit more about that and how that worked out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that the world today is filled with cultural differences and people. That there are a lot of diversity is everywhere, right? It's a global phenomenon, and it's not that we are more diverse now than before. I think we've always been diverse. It's just that today a lot more interest groups are asserting themselves and asking for their rights to exist and to be represented. And I think that's fair. It's just that I think the world hasn't caught up with the vocabulary of how to manage differences. And I find that because of that, there's a lot of what I call cultural wars. And you can see in many places in the world when there's no negotiation or no ability to or capacity to listen to each other, a lot of things go into polarized states. Everything goes into extreme left or right, and there's like a silent majority or the middle ground that is that's not that is absent. And I find that that's where we need the cultural workers and the community workers and arts people need to fill, because the economists are not, or businessmen are not really their interest, not their priority. The politicians, not quite their priority. They have to look into nation building and all that. And always differences are settled through using power. So who's more powerful, they get to have a say. Who speaks louder gets to have a say. Who has more money gets to have a say. So I really feel collaboration is very important, but not the kind of collaboration that is inspired by hierarchical structures. It's the kind of collaboration where you have deep listening involved. And how do you negotiate with people who enjoy privilege and those who actually are not from the privilege? And how do you platform people who are less privileged, people who are more invisible, and people who have been oppressed? Yeah. And to actually let them speak more, let them how do we share space with them, make space and share space with them? Yeah. And so I did want to encourage the seniors to go to, you know, different communities, but I was so happy, pleasantly happy, when one of them said, let's go and do something on LGBTQ. And I was taken aback because, you know, the stereotype in my mind is that seniors will not touch LGBTQ. And the woman that brought it up said, well, LKY's grandchild, you know, is out and about, so it should be kosher now. So so our seniors is likened to the, you know, like the golden girls. They are very informed today, they are educated, they are progressive, they are quite open. So we did meet LGBTQ community, and we did create a forum theater play that we did a reading on about about a daughter who's coming out, you know, with her lesbian status, and how the parents are shocked, and how what then can happen. So it's a forum theater piece, and we hope one day to be able to stage it and to get people interacting with it. But putting up the play, creating the work with them was eye-opening, because they were really trying to look at forces, you know, that, and they got all the lines about how to get the daughter not to encourage the daughter to continue with the relationship, right? So yeah, and it's interesting when we go into discussion, you know, the empathy and how they come around to understanding people who have been suffering because they don't have the freedom to love who they want to love. Yeah, so yeah, so it comes back to that whole point of empathy and deep listening, which theater actually encourages, and that's yeah, that can happen when we do this kind of more of this kind of community work.
Yeah, and I guess like mutual understanding is all the more needed, like especially right now when we're interacting through screens, and it gives a lot of space to have misunderstandings. And earlier you mentioned this idea of privilege and power dynamics. So I think that is something we have to keep in mind, like in these times. And so I'm just gonna bring up a question that is so related to this, by Wilson. He asked, how has COVID-19 changed the way common spaces for communities are formed nowadays? For example, no physical gatherings, challenges, etc. So I'm going to hand this over to Yvonne since she's much experienced in this field.
So I think if you look at the current climate that we're in, a lot of us are looking at common spaces as a risk. Yeah, so I think we're very worried. So if you can recall the scene that all of us had to be familiar with in during circuit breaker, where all our playgrounds had the red and white tapes, and it wasn't just one playground. So it's along the streets as you walk. Every single playground had that. Every single sort of little bench along the walkway had that. I don't know. That for me was it was very uneasy to see that, because I'm a firm believer that we are all health creators ourselves, and we are capable of creating health and these are the space that we use to create health is really where all these things were happening, and to see it brought up was really quite gut-wrenching. But I do understand, coming from health background, of course, I do understand the need for us to take precaution during this period. So I guess for us, the next step forward is, I think with what's happened now is we now have a greater appreciation, or I hope that we now have a greater appreciation of how important a lot of these common spaces are. And how important it is to our general well-being, to the well-being of our community, whether it's the auntie who does qigong at the void deck downstairs, or it's the small young kids. Where are you playing football now? I don't know how to do it. I hope it's not just, well, some of us are able to move it online. So I think common spaces are appearing online, just like the one that we're here. So we can't see Wilson, but we're talking to Wilson. We're answering Wilson's question. So there are new norms that are being formed, but I guess what this also offers to us now is an opportunity to look at what do we not want to lose, what are still important to us, to our ethos. So like Elvin said, we don't want the politicians to decide for us. We don't want the people in power to just decide for us, because these are our common spaces. We as citizens, as people who live in our own individual community, are the ones that are going to be responsible. And friendship is what we need to use in order to arrive at a common and mutual understanding, like Sam, you said. How do we want to use the space? Do we all agree that these spaces are worthy to be saved, are worthy for us to all want to keep it clean, keep it safe, for the children next door, for the pets that are going to walk around, for the older communities, older seniors in our midst.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. I really like this idea of how health creation should also be brought to the community, and we also need to really start rethinking what all these communal spaces mean to us. So maybe I could also like shift this question to Sherry, Shania. In terms of like the community theatre at Lincoln Center, what does it really like mean to you, and do you have anything to really share about that in terms of like the friendships built and all that?
Shania, go first. Or should I start?
You can go ahead.
Okay. We've been at Linky CC for quite some time. Before Linky, like I think earlier like 2015, 2016, I remember we had rehearsals in Beyond's office, like a space behind the office there. And also that, I mean, we go there to kind of do our script writing and all that sometimes. So not only Linky CC, but also Beyond's office or literally anywhere else, like the playground beside the office and stuff like that. Yeah, we did have our rehearsals in the car park also. Near outside Beyond's office. So yeah, not just Linky CC. But yeah, for the past like couple of years, like especially for the block party last year, we rehearsed mainly in Linky CC. And space isn't fantastic. I mean, we're grateful for the space, but you know, it's not like a typical theater space. But we make do with it. It became that place where everyone would calm down. It brings people together. For a number of our younger members, they live very near Linky CC, so it's literally just dropping down, like come down to hang out. Yeah, like maybe a further away void deck. Yeah, and some of us live very far away, but it just became that space that whether it's near or far, that a space that people wanted to come to every week to talk, to share, to play, to perform, to act, and to sometimes be vulnerable within that four walls of that room there. Yeah. Anything more to add on, Shania?
I think I agree. Yeah, it's about like knowing that the four walls were the only, like, whatever that was said within those four walls stayed in those four walls. Yeah. But personally for me, because when I started doing community theatre, it started at Wampo's office. So it was at Wampo, not Linky. And then like Sherry said, for block party, the bulk of it was at Linky. That's when like that was like most of it. But ironically, like, although those spaces hold a lot of emotions and that's where you grow together, I bonded the most outside those spaces, at like staircases, at playgrounds, after rehearsals, where we're like, okay, let's grab a cup of tea and like just chill and talk about everything. I think that's when me and my friends truly like talk about rehearsals, reflect about the issues and topics that were brought. And although the community theatre already holds such a safe space where we can just kind of speak without filter, and we can talk about our true opinions, there's something about these playgrounds and staircase that brings out even more. We we can say anything we want, we can cuss anything we want without the fear of disrespecting someone else, you know. And yeah, and because I guess it's in a smaller group, it's like for like whoever that can kind of chill afterwards. So mostly it's the older ones where we didn't really have curfews and we're like, okay, after this, let's grab a cup of tea and just chill. That's where my bonds were formed. It was outside the space, but in the community. Yeah, and at common spaces. That's for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess like I really like what you said about how what is said in the room needs to really stay in that room, and then creating that trust from there. I also remember when I was like sort of interviewing Elsie, I asked her like what was the magic formula for creating this sort of like safe space, because she was talking a lot about the vulnerability, right? And then she just replied that I really don't know, and she asked like if you guys knew, then I would love to be part of that, right? So maybe to extend this to maybe the health sector, I'm just wondering, like, Yvonne, what do you think is the best way in terms of like making someone who is, let's say, the patient, feel comfortable and safe enough when it comes to their own mental well-being? Yeah.
How to help someone feel safe, you mean? It's a very tough questions that you've given me, Samuel. I guess one thing that we've been, or rather my team at Yishun Health, we've been trying to do is to help people to at least recognize that the current healthcare system has unequal distribution of power. So the doctors have a lot of power. As healthcare professional, we have a lot of power. We know all your blood results, and usually in a lot of times, in a lot of settings, we get it before even the patient. So we are the ones to relate information to you. The healthcare professional is also the one who could decipher what is wrong, what is of priority for you. And I think that is where really the newer or rather the new batch of healthcare professionals are working towards, which is to recognize it, but also to break it down into understandable pieces and return that information back to patients. Patients are already on one step ahead these days. So you have access to the internet, so you can Google and find out a lot of information. A lot of our patients these days are also knowledgeable about their own body, about their own health, and they are again own creators. So you already know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you like to eat, how you like to eat it. So it's a lot of time understanding that person and working with that person. So even if it's for mental health issue, it is not trying to fit that person into, I have this program, I have these services, would you like to join in? But to understand again from that person who is in a way seeking treatment, what is of priority and what do you have within among your bag of resources, right? What is at the back of, what resources do you have? And how to help use those resources to help in your own recovery. Yeah. So there was one thing that we recently have been telling some of our newer colleagues in the hospital, which is, as a healthcare system, we want to be proud of our citizen or our residents' health. We don't want to be proud of the services that we offer. So I think that is a very so pat yourself on the back lah. So a big shift that we have been trying to get people to understand. Healthcare system should always be it's a safety net, but it shouldn't overtake an individual's life. So again, back to our topic of friendship, it is actually when you're ill, you look at the story that Kabir, right, was saying, when he's down, he's not looking for a counselor. And the person who is immediately at his disposal is his neighbor, is Madam Lee. Yeah. And he's not for us to judge, hey, why you talk to him and then still smoke. But that's really how they connect. Yeah. So judgment aside, allow people to connect first. So they can explore issues or resources to their own issues. Yeah. Healthcare can come in, but come in later.
Yeah, I guess like really forming that connection. And I think I just saw like a question from Henny. I think it was in relation to Elsie's video, but I think it's very relevant here, the idea of like friendship and what keeps us going. So she asked, wow guys, from being strangers to solid volunteers that bloomed into friendship. I'm just curious what makes you keep coming back, knowing that you have to volunteer for more than 3 years and counting. And thanks for sticking around with the community. So does anyone want to take this? Okay, Shania?
I think what stood out was what makes you keep coming back knowing that you have to volunteer. The thing is that for me at least, when I kept coming back, I no longer saw it as a volunteering thing. I saw it as seeing my friends. I saw it as an outlet to do the thing I love and seeing the people I love. So it wasn't like I'm going to volunteer. It's like, yeah, I'm so excited to see my friends. I'm so excited to hear what they have to say this week. I'm so excited to discover and explore new topics this week. So it didn't feel like there was a restricted role. It was just kind of me wanting, it's like you wanting to go out drinking with your friends every week. Same thing. But this one, what got me high was my friends. If that makes any sense.
And just to add on, I think, I agree with Shania that like it didn't feel like, I'm going to volunteer. Like don't go down and be like, today I'm going to volunteer. I'm volunteering work. It became like a part of life, like a part of your life already, like natural. And I think personally for me, through the years, I also learning through the years, the power of theatre and the process of making theatre, community theatre specifically, was it intrigued me, like how theatre could do so much more than just put up a show. It creates the opportunity for people to talk, to converse, to lash out, to think, to explore. Maybe otherwise they may not have that space or opportunity to do so. So I think the power of the art form here and everything else that adding on to what Shania has mentioned, was draws me back to keep doing what we do here.
Yeah, I'm also curious as to what Alvin keeps him going, even though it's not really volunteering, but I think the Necessary Stage has done a lot of good work. So what keeps you doing these kind of very amazing work?
Actually, whilst Shania and Sherry and Yvonne all were discussing, it's true. I think what is the thing that's common for all of us is being involved in theatre and community. It's the interaction and the intersection of community work and theatre that I realize some people might not understand that dynamic, and that actually transforms volunteers into friends. Because there's something intrinsic in theatrical processes that make people go through a kind of humanizing experience. Where we are sharing with each other what maybe outsiders look at rehearsal and they might feel it is very unproductive, right? It's like people sit, relax one corner, lepak, but actually it's not. I think we see through the lens of Singapore's idea of productivity, and we miss the whole thing because when we are talking and we are connecting with each other, something very deep is actually happening, and there's an exchange of life. And it's something I think we take for granted because a lot of times, most of the things we know in terms of transactional exchange involves money and material gains. And at times when I put myself outside and I see what we're doing, I shake my head because I feel the general public will judge us as really not being productive. And I think that is a bit of their loss. And I feel that that's where I think more mainstream people must get involved in theatre. I think if you talk to any seniors from Theatre for Seniors, they yearn for that. They yearn for the community, the fire, when they are together, and they will all bring food and they will talk, and then from their discussions, the materials grow, and then they use the material into the play. So it's such empowering and enriching experience, that one person can give to another person. A lot of care, a lot of listening, and somehow all this contribute to the social glue, and it does make us wake up in the morning and looking forward to go to meet them. So it's really it shifts us from doing volunteer work. It's not like it's it's not like it's a chore. It's not like, okay, we have to be selfless. It's not. It's like we really want to go. We want to hear what does Irene have to say today about, and I need to know how is Ahmad's grandmother doing, because the last time she was not doing very well, and we kind of miss that. I know, because I'm 57 years old, so when I was growing up, I grew up in the kampong. Yeah, in Singapore that was fast losing its kampong. But I managed to grow up in Siglap, where it was kampong before the 70s and 80s came and everything disappeared. I walked past every morning with my mom to the market. I would pass the common tap where women would go to wash clothes. that was actually part of Singapore, yeah, which we don't see today. So that was a part where I grew. I mean, I am not going into nostalgia or romanticizing, but I am historicizing, right? Is to look at what is in history that we are missing out today. And with that kind of community, everything else comes in, each other's health, each other's care for, and and it's health, not just about your physical health, it's also your emotional health. People are asking about your psychological health, people are asking about. I find it lesser and lesser in today's interaction, but I find it present in community activities. I find it present. So, in all community gatherings where there's data, I find a lot of hope, and that's why theater, community theaters and all that seem to continue on because. When you're asking what keeps you going, actually it's the stamina. The stamina. It's not about stamina. It's the life we get from theater gatherings. It gives us life. So that's why people are asking, why are you in this for 33 years and every project you are equally passionate about? Because each project is a different group of people, is a different issue, and each project is a life of its own. And the people inside are reorganized and permutate differently. But most of the time, people are functioning as laterally as possible, as in not hierarchical, right? And because of that, we are challenged to actually all the time remind ourselves to have and practice mutual respect. Um, without mutual respect, it's very hard to do the work we do. So it gives us life, I guess. That's why we keep on doing what we're doing. Yeah. Thank
Yeah, I think I just jump in here and I think re-echoing what Alvin said, it gives us life, yeah, and it just makes me recall on those days where I was just so super tired from work and I would go down at night because our rehearsals are mostly at night, week like Fridays, and so traveling there is so tiring. But then like in that space and wanting to hear another person's story, wanting to just have that conversation, that banter, it literally gives me life. Like it just magically, I don't know how the fatigue was just magically gone. And yeah, we start our rehearsals with dinner. We sit in a circle and we have food that we order from one of the mothers in the community. So she cooks and packs the food for us. Yeah, so that eating and chilling before rehearsals. It's a start to the giving of the life, coming the night coming to life in each session. Yeah, and that non-hierarchical space I thought was what also drew me back all these years. How everyone, we are same. We are different in our different struggles and experiences, but no one is above you. So that helps in creating that safe space and friendships, and it allows friendship to be formed a bit more genuinely, organically, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to add on to in terms of my own experiences in relation to what Alvin mentioned.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Sherry. I think really we are so obsessed on like productivity and all these hierarchical structures, when I think what it really goes back to is this idea of play. And also from Alvin, from Sherry, I think it's really the community, these common spaces, our connections with another human being, right? And I think more so we need to really center the arts, care work, advocacy work, restoration work. And because these are the things that truly sustain us and create those humanizing moments, right? And so I think this is a nice transition to Dee's video, where she really talks about how her experiences in theater really related to her community. So without further ado, let's move on.
Common goal, like in my community, we have people from all sorts of ages. Like Elsie playing the role of Madam Lee reminds me of like the seniors in my community that I often, bump into, and it's a progressive friendship, I say. Like there are a few aunties whom I greet in my neighborhood, and then from just greeting and acknowledging each other, we talk, and then they ask like, what am I doing? And then like it just became like it's no longer a hi bye thing. So it's nice lah. And some of them they know my mom, so they would ask like, hey, how's your mom? So it's when when the role Madam Lee asked about how's my mom, I feel like I could answer that not just in the role of Kabir, but like myself. And my answer is quite similar. Like, my mom, she is also sick, and like she don't really talk to me about it. So I could relate to it. And I think I believe many other youths in my community could also relate, because the community is small here. I want to say thank you so much to all the viewers, who's viewing this right now, making the time, making time of your busy schedule to be here with us, like virtually. I really appreciate it, and yeah, thank you to DNS for providing this opportunity for us to showcase this show online.
Yeah, in my conversations with Dee, I think she also spent most of her sessions like filming something in the air outside, and so she really shared how much Lenki Center really meant to her throughout her practices and creating that space for expression and care, right? So I think what came up throughout our conversations was really this idea of how maybe you live in a society where certain practices are maybe unsustainable, maybe exploitative. So then how can we find friendship that is sustained and help us really pull through these hard times? And how do we truly do justice to the voices that so dearly need to be heard in a way that's honest and equitable? So anyone like to kick us off? Otherwise, maybe I could direct this to Yvonne.
So I feel like as the night goes on, Sam's question has gotten tougher and tougher. So I don't know. It's really, really a very tough question. I think if I were to see myself as someone in the community, I think the first thing I would try is to reach out to someone, maybe to take Elvin's earlier advice, try and reach out to someone who I've traditionally always avoid or didn't agree with, to try and hear the person on the other side who has a very different viewpoint from mine. I think I'll start with that.
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. I would agree with that as well. I've always got this picture of a compass, north, south, east, west, and then I find that in Singapore, we have an aversion to what is oppositional. Yeah, so if it's north is the dominant, then a lot of like activists or artists, they like the south. They like the south because the south is like you speak truth to power, right? So it's very heroic, and Singaporeans don't like the word alternative. I find especially the leadership, the government, because alternative immediately collapse to oppositional. Yeah, actually, alternative is not only oppositional position is not the only alternative, right? Alternative can be alternative to north, can be east west, can be northeast northwest, southeast southwest. It need not always south. But in Singapore, when everything is so sensitive, when everything is very thin skinned, when you say alternative only, suddenly alarm bells ring and they go to the south. They think you are being oppositional. I think that kills a lot of creativity because, all other positions is like as if you don't agree with us, you are against us. That closes up a lot of conversation. And if I carry on like that, then I will not today I will not be friends with the seniors or the elderly, right? I'll just mix with people who are thinking like me, right? Same wavelength. Because I also grow up from a culture of pragmatism, right? So why do I inconvenience myself? I might as well hang out with people of the same wavelength, same brain wave, same kaki nang lah, same kind of people. Then I can just relax. I don't need to work so hard, right? And I find that sometimes generally Singaporeans tend to go there, and then we exist in our own enclaves. You know, we don't want difference lah, because difference inconveniences. And I appreciate what Yvonne said, to go opposite the people I hang out with, right? And it's true. It's really how to inconvenience myself, because maybe it's people really ideologically, diametrically opposed to me. I need to meet them. I need to talk to them. I need to find a common ground. I think that's very noble and very altruistic and very. So when I heard Yvonne say that, I think it was very touching for me, because not many people would take that as an option or a first option, right? Because it's going to just cause me a lot of grief to actually meet people who you know from the start already. Like I need to go and meet a Trump supporter, and then be friends with a Trump supporter. Yeah, it's as good as that. So the thing is that, yes, I think we need to challenge ourselves to actually have that conversation. It's a difficult conversation, a difficult space, but that is the area where friendships are needed. And and we need to reach out. We cannot anymore stay in our comfort zones all the time. Yeah.
Right. So at this point, I do also want to revisit one of the questions that was asked by, I think, Germanin, if I'm pronouncing your name right, I hope. I think she asked, this question is for everyone, including me. Can each of you share what friendship means to you? And I think really we can just go in what is not a circle, but hopefully you can take turns. Yeah. And I guess for me, I guess how I see friendship is, I have a friend who's very averse to the word mentorship. He really likes calling it peership or friendship, because I think that's what friendship is, right? It's free of all these hierarchical structures. It's free of power dynamics. And so for me, that's what friendship really means to me. And it's also, I think, Alvin, you talked a lot about wanting to reach out of the echo chamber, so-called. But I guess for me, I also see echo chambers as sort of regenerative spaces, because we can truly be one with one another and truly share, right? But I think there is also value in all these unexpected friendships that we do form, and I think we really need to have more of such conversations. So would Shania or Sherry like to carry on?
What friendship means, right? On that question, right? Yeah, I think at the very start with that photo sharing, I think maybe I'll just reiterate in four phrases. I think friendships to support, to listen, have conversations, and have fun. Yeah. On to shall I pass the ball to Shania?
I caught the ball. Anyway, with friendship, I also think that it's just to add joy in my life. Yeah, as in not add joy. Okay, that sounds very depressing. What I meant was that it was just a place where you could not overthink about what's this, what's the value of this? Is it beneficial? Blah, blah, blah. Is it productive? Are we having productive conversations? Is it right? No, it's just an outlet for us to be ourselves, an outlet for us to talk about anything and everything with no judgment, with no hierarchy. I agree with Samuel and Elvin and also everyone else that there's no hierarchy in friendship. Sometimes it's just to me, friendship is not that deep. It's just a place that I can, or person or space that I can go to when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling happy, when I'm feeling absolutely anything. I
think for me, friendships add to what I already am and make me more colorful. I think just on this panel itself, what is a healthcare administrator doing on this panel that's talking about community and arts, right? But my experience as a healthcare administrator is enriched by your experience, by my collaboration with you, by just sitting here and having a chance to work alongside you to bring this production to a virtual stage. So I think friendships, when you least expect it, yeah, will make you adds to the sum of your parts, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with Samuel. I have my group. We call ourselves Echo Chamber or study group actually, and sometimes when throughout the week, when there are a lot of challenges that pull you down, then we will contact each other and we'll like, oh, I need my echo chamber. And now with the convenience of Zoom, actually we do come together, and it's like Wonder Woman going back home to kind of recharge. And I think we sometimes need people of the same kind to also get us out of a rut, because sometimes we catch ourselves in a rut, in our own rut, right? We're too smart for our own good, and we got blind spots. And it's nice to have an echo chamber where they are your friends, and they can actually be very frank and brutal with you because they know your weaknesses, and so they know how to unpick you, and you trust them enough to let them be brutal with you, and then get unpicked. So it is of course a necessity. I guess I'm talking about if we only know how to exist in an echo chamber, then that's alarm bells should ring. But echo chambers are not necessarily a bad thing. It's like fire. If you manage it, it will cook your food. If you can't manage it, it will burn your house down. Yeah.
Right. So as we are talking about what all these terms really mean to us, I think it's also like good to also think about going forward, like reimagining and imagining like a future for ourselves. And I think that also needs us to start maybe with like the script, something that really brought us all here together. So I just received a question from Nishav Kumar, and he asked, in the script writing process, what would you guys do differently looking back? So I think anyone can take this question if anyone wants to start.
Okay. I think this sounds really cliche, but I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, I think everything kind of fell into place nicely. And I mean, oh man, how do I say this? And because of like the pandemic, I think being in isolation and the stakes are higher. I think the script kind of like a lot more people can relate to the script because some things are inaccessible. I mean, the magnitude is different. Different people experience different things, different struggles. But I think because of everything, like it fell into place to the point where, we didn't know there's going to be a lockdown and all those things, But in the script, we talked about masks. We talked about like giving masks to each other, and in that context, it was haze. But it's just like amazing to me that we can also apply that in the context that I give my neighbors masks, my neighbors give me masks, the communal thing. I think I wouldn't change anything at all. Yeah, I thought everything was done amazingly. Yeah.
I think looking at Nisha's question was about the process. I mean, thinking back now, we started the project in last year, was like November, around there. And then so we had about like November, December, January, about 3 months to meet from both sides to to explore, to devise and rehearse and finally perform at Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. I mean, that was the plan. Then everything just, and COVID happened and it didn't happen, the performance didn't happen. So we were actually working with a very tight timeline of 3 months. And we had to, there was a lot to achieve in that 3 months because, to get the people to bond first, it was quite a process. And so as a result, because we were actually quite tight for time, we had to maybe speed up certain processes, like the creative writing part. So we do have, I think earlier on Shania brought up, we have journals, and these are actually tools to help in the script writing process when we piece stories together. In the current script, there were really a lot of stories that were shared literally in the space throughout the different rehearsals every week. But I think because of the lack of, because we were tight for time, right, with the very short timeline, we kind of, we had to maybe cut short the process in terms of getting feedback from one another, in terms of reading the script and then kind of dissecting it, and getting everyone's input, and then because it's a collaborative effort in terms of the script writing process, it's a collaborative effort between both sides. I felt that because we were tight for time, it was we had to cut short that process, and I feel that if I were to do it differently, I hope that we could have more time for both sides to kind of mull over it together, to kind of discuss whether it's what we feel about it a bit more. We did that, but it was actually it was more the time that we did that was really very short. Yeah, so I would have liked that we kind of had a bit more discussion on what was put together and make changes based on feedback from everyone. Yeah.
All right, so now that we have come to maybe the last 10-20 minutes to this panel, I would like to maybe throw a challenge for all of you, which is to ask a question to everyone else on the panel, as it's really rare to bring all of you here together. So what do you guys maybe want to know more about from each other? I don't know if anyone wants to begin.
I have a question. I have a question for Yvonne. Since the, I guess, pandemic started, how have you been coping with your side of things? Firstly, okay, and then secondly, how has it been? And is there anything that we can do to help those who are in more dire situations?
I think we since January, it's been really a bit of a roller coaster. So I think some of our partners or friends who saw me between April and June, that's when I was really a bit cuckoo head. So long hours, we were sort of being redeployed from our usual desk-bound work to a lot of different frontline pandemic work. So some of my colleagues were doing swabs at the dormitories. Myself, I was doing a lot of contact tracing. So a lot of phone calls, long nights, and talking to a lot of workers in the dormitories at the same time as well. So I think that we're grateful that the situation is now much under control. We are moving on to a different, a lot of our neighboring countries now are moving into what we call a second wave. And we're just hoping that in Singapore, that second wave will still remain manageable for the healthcare system. So that's that. I think the other point that we have been able to do, or rather, the other point that I guess all of us can help is to encourage people to give, encourage people to think about how do they want to help their neighbors. And it doesn't need to be, I need to rally 50 volunteers to go into this neighborhood to distribute things. It doesn't need to be like that. It could be just inviting the community or someone you know from a certain community to say, are you thinking, or do you have any ideas? What help do you need? And maybe starting from there. I think in the current climate, we've had quite a few requests from different people say, oh, you work with maybe this and that, lower income communities. How can we help them? But actually what's been quite amazing is those communities are helping themselves. They need resources. And resources is what we can all provide them. So they can be the deliverer of good things. It doesn't always need to be volunteers led. And volunteers can maybe take a back seat and allow them to thrive in the current situation, for them to feel a bit more in control of what's happening. Other than that, it's just maybe looking out for your neighbors. Go and knock on the next door auntie and say, how have you been? Scared not? Like, playground closed, then how? Got enough mask? You know, I'm gonna, like bulk buy, bulk purchase some Uniqlo mask. You want to join me on that deal? Maybe it's just an offer of that. It doesn't need to be something very extravagant. It could be just an offer of a friendship. Bring the small kid out who cannot go to the playground, just play kick around at the corridor.
Thank you, Yvonne.
I have a question for Yvonne also. Like, prior to this collaboration, like how involved you were, or how, like, what was your like interest? Do you have an interest in the arts? Yeah, and then maybe I'll ask based on your response again. I have another question. Yeah.
So we did I would guess my team's first foray into the arts community was with Arts Walk, actually, for the Both Sides Now collaboration. Where we work with them to bring together seniors from our community to talk about death. That really opened up our eyes. The way they curated the process, they curated the way they opened up the conversation about death was very refreshing. And that sort of given us the little energy to say, hey, can explore a little bit more along this way. So our friends from Arts Walk has also opened up a lot of doors for us as well. Yeah, and that's how we met Izzati.
Right. Then what do you think is the future of like such collaborations like for you guys in terms of collaborating with different arts communities?
I think it will continue for sure. The way, so what I've always said about our first collaboration with Arts Walk is it taught us a new language, which is a little bit of what Alvin was talking about. So it's especially with topics that are very much based on lived experience. When you want to talk about basically social determinants of health, you want to talk about old people wanting to talk about death, young people wanting to talk about the discomfort of having to talk to their parents about their death. It requires us to use something else other than our spoken language. It requires us to and arts, theatre, and all these different medium provided us another way of expression, I feel. And that way of expression also isn't so much in your face. It takes some time to sort of understand, deliberate, and process the information. And ask questions, basically. And we felt that, at least I feel, in the past few collaborations that I've had with different arts group, right, it's helped to us to move or reflect the nuances of a lot of health issues that we experience. Yeah, death isn't just an old people thing. Death affects everyone within the family. So as much as we want old people to talk about death, they must have someone to talk to as well. And are the family members ready? So if we can all just imagine if our parents or grandparents were to come home and say, today I want to talk to you about my funeral. I mean, yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of layers, and I just personally feel that the different mediums and different collaborations that we've had has allowed us to explore its magnitude.
So does Yvonne or Alvin have any questions?
I think.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. My question is to Alvin. I'm curious to know what's up next for the Theatre for Seniors. Quite excited to see if they have any new things up their sleeves.
Well, we did a series of things on Zoom. Yeah, for them to talk about what their lives were like during the pandemic, and how they're staying at home and quarreling with their spouses more. but keeping it very real, because they improvising over Zoom, and how they learned this social media platform was quite interesting in their spirit of keeping relevant, and also keeping in contact with each other. Yeah. I am looking at to kind of continue their interaction, because during the pandemic as well, their realization about how we've been treating the migrant workers, kind of woke up. They were awakened to the issues, and was quite interesting because, I mean, the activists, some activists are like, we've been doing it for 10 years. Only now you all are, waking up. Yeah. So I was also telling the activists, it's all right, it's better late than never, you see, because it's now that they are woken up, then what shall we do with that awakening? Yeah. So it takes some time. It takes some time for them to make those realizations, but it was very heartening for me, because they were looking outside their own middle class comfort and middle class life. Yeah. Okay, I am not representing them well, because they might be talking about this elsewhere, when they're going out for coffee with their friends. They just don't maybe don't see that as a topic or conversation when they are improvising in a rehearsal room, right? Because it will go straight into their own lives, and most the migrant workers will appear as their helper in the scenes that they are creating, but not migrant workers as a community with their own challenges. Yeah, they might not see it in that perspective. Yeah. So I still want to carry on this thing about them interacting with other communities, but it is not easy, because I also don't want them to go into this community and then suddenly treat it like a zoo, like going there and then like it's an exhibit, and so we actually we gave them proper lessons. I got in a artist who's also who also teaches anthropology, Felicia Low, to talk to the seniors about ways to gain trust and how to check themselves, and things like that. So they need to know those things as well. But that was a year ago. So maybe now at that time, when the artist lecturer came, it was a lot for them, the seniors, to take in, because one lecture had so many thoughts. So now it's 1 year later, and I think some of the things have settled in, and because of their experiences now, they might actually begin to understand what Felicia talked to them about, but in a more experiential way, right? Because they've got their own experiences. So I kind of want to carry on from there and see from there where they want to go, and the communities that they might want to choose to get themselves involved in. Because at that time, the Beyond as well as migrant workers were communities I chose. Yeah. So I think I want them to have more ownership over which community they want to move themselves to interact with. Yeah. So because every time when I try to do a shift, it's not easy lah. So the shift has to be outside in, like, okay, let's go to another community. Now they understand a little bit what it means and why, and the benefits of it. Then they can design their own, they can design their own their next project. That's what I always like to do. Introduce first, and then after that, once they experience it, what aspects of it they like and what they find challenging, and after evaluating with them their experience, then I would want them to kind of lead their own next project lah. And I like to supply connections and backup, and skills and expertise, rather than lead them into a project which I think might be good for them. So that transition is not easy. That transition is it takes some time, because among the seniors also, there are different people with different leadership. Some like to really work in pairs, and then some are not confident working alone, and then some are very has a bit more ego, and there are ego clashes as well. Yeah, so you have to kind of iron out those things. Yeah, but there are more multiple projects lah. Last time, it was always like working towards one project for the end of the year show, and then they will call all their families to come, and it's a big showcase of small shows. But now, what has happened is broken down into small projects, smaller projects, depending on how many of them are. There are multiple projects. It doesn't end up with one showcase. So there are many showcases, and different showcases, different projects mature at different timelines throughout the year. So that it cannot be one big showcase at the end of the year anymore. It's different projects. Like you cook one and then two are in the back burner, and then you eat the first dish, then the next one will cook later. Yeah, so it's a bit more multiple and not so, it doesn't move towards just one show at the end of the year. Yeah, so to take care of the plurality of interests and diversity of their own rhythm, so each project will have its own community, its own rhythm, its own speed. Yeah, so I kind of like that, but it's no longer something big and visible in that sense. It's become a bit more invisible actually, but I kind of think that that's the way it should go when you go into community.
Yeah, and I guess Alvin, like, you really bring us like very nicely to like our conclusion and of like this entire like panel discussion and script read. So I have a question, like maybe to close things off, which is what is one thing you would like to see happening more in terms of friendships, collaborations, and the community? I guess I'll start first, and I guess for me, what I would like to see happening is that everything that Alvin has shared, really this idea of bringing certain complexities and certain communities back into the common space and into like public awareness. And from there, having more like all these decentralized ground up sort of collaborations happening more often. So would anyone like to carry on?
I think for me, the one thing I would like to see in collaborations more would be more intergenerational collaborations. So bigger age gaps. And I think that would be very interesting because my experience with it was so great. So I would like to see that flourish.
Okay, caught a
Sherry?
ball. I think I like to see collaborations between the many different diverse groups. Yeah, I think there are some here and there right now. So that's one. Another would be for schools to actually be participating or be doing or be involved or connected with community arts. Yeah. Okay. To Yvonne.
Yeah, I will catch that ball. So I actually do agree with Sherry. I would like to see schools participate in this space a little bit more. Yeah. Alvin?
I think I talked too much already. Yeah, I think of course schools. You said schools, right, Yvonne? Yeah, I feel the hope is in the young, and the young is full of hope, and I feel the young has made some difference in this year's elections. So I really feel the young has that vision, that strength, and I would want to invest in the young. So I'm looking at my seniors and thinking it has to go intergenerational. It has been here and there, but not enough. Yeah. So that's where I want to go.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and also thank you all of you for tuning in this evening. And we really hope you'll join us tomorrow as well for Giving More Ground, which is a panel discussion to really conclude this week-long celebration of the Community Theatre's 5th anniversary. Just a bit of plug, but do follow us, follow Beyond Social Services on Facebook, or click on the links in the comment section to really find out more. We really look forward to your generosity and continued support. And with that, I think we'll end the panel.
And thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Samuel, for
Thanks, Samuel.
Yeah, good job.
Bye bye.